Right then, ladies and gents, let's talk Mortal Kombat sequels. Now, the writer Greg Russo has already come out and spoken about potentially a trilogy. But this is from the director, and I feel like the information he provides is a little bit more grounded, a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more realistic, actually. So, I'm going to dive into this today, ladies and gents. This article's from Variety, and it is linked down below in the description box. First things first, if you haven't seen my Mortal Kombat review, I'll leave it linked above. Check it out. Two other things, though. I've got under 10 Blu-rays left for sale from my film Black Fields. That is linked down below in the description box, along with my second channel. It's a car channel. I know there are some car fans among my viewers, my subscribers, so if you want to watch me rebuild a Nissan Pulsar GTI-R, check it out. The link is down below in the description box. Would love to have you over there supporting me on another channel with a different vibe. But anyway, let's dive into this, shall we? So, Mortal Kombat director Simon McQuaid on sequel plans, major deaths, and Johnny Cage. Now, there will be full spoilers for this, so big warning, obviously, for spoilers. Click off the video. But let's dive into it. So, director Simon McQuaid's Mortal Kombat builds the groundwork for what could be a gory action franchise. Joe Taslim already told Variety that he's actually been signed up to 4 more movies, which is very, very interesting. Now, obviously, Joe Taslim played Sub-Zero, and the likelihood of him coming back as Noob Saibot is very high from Shang Tsung's closing dialogue of "Death is just another portal." So hardly a surprise there. And obviously, fan favourite in this film was Kano. He would undoubtedly return as well, or we would hope anyway, again, because he was such a standout in this film. And as this article aptly notes, it is trying to build groundwork. It's not actually the tournament itself, it is just the opening. It builds the sort of interrelationships between Shang Tsung and Raiden, and how they're sort of conniving against one another. One's breaking the rules and the other's trying to stick to it, but then yeah, it's definitely laying some framework for a potential franchise. Now, the movie features several threads that could be explored in further films, joiner pieces that McQuaid intentionally added. The most obvious comes in the film's final frame, which shows a movie poster for fictional Hollywood superstar and iconic Mortal Kombat video game character Johnny Cage. Protagonist Cole Young remarks that he's off to LA in search of more Mortal Kombat fighters, directly setting up a possible sequel. And it was sequel bait. Not bad sequel bait. The only bad thing about the sequel bait was obviously Lewis Tan. His Cole Young character didn't die, and the likelihood of him coming back is very high, which sucks because he was a crap character and a really bad actor. Now, several major characters die in this movie, but Mortal Kombat fans know that death isn't permanent in the video game franchise. Sub-Zero is burnt to a crisp by Scorpion, and Kung Lao has his soul sucked out by master villain Shang Tsung. Not to be forgotten, Kano, Mylena, Cabal, Nitara, Reiko, and Goro all meet grisly ends. Basically, everyone dies, which is garbage. They really nerfed Goro, and in my review I said how... I don't think I said this in my review, I said it in my live stream review, how it doesn't matter if you bring Goro back now, you've already nerfed him. You had a no-name character turn up with literal plot armor, that's his superpower, literal plot armor, turn up and kill Goro. Nah, doesn't matter if he comes back now, he's been beaten by nobody. Now, McQuaid told Variety, "I don't want death to be something that is inconsequential." And certainly Sub-Zero has some opportunities. In the end, we see Shang Tsung conspicuously retrieve Sub-Zero's corpse in a puff of black smoke. In the games, the original Sub-Zero died and was resurrected as the undead ninja Noob Saibot, which could be what McQuaid hints at, and I think that is the case. In a spoiler-filled conversation with Variety, McQuaid discusses sequel ideas, undead fighters, and what other characters he'd like to see in his potential follow-up. And that's if it gets the green light, which... currently, with 50 million take-home worldwide opening weekend, it could actually see it turning profit and a sequel being greenlit, which is a surprise, actually. It is a surprise. Are there any plans or ideas that you have for a sequel? And his reply was, again, remember, bearing in mind, ladies and gents, the writer has already turned out and said, yes, I want to make 3 films. I think this chap is more realistic here. So he says sequels are a bit tricky because you can't totally ignore them because that wouldn't be a smart move, but none of us would use the S word. We'd never talk about it in any depth whatsoever because we feel like we have to put all our energy into this film. That being said, if the fans want another one, that's not for us to decide, that's for the fans to decide. Then we need a couple of joiner pieces that we know can lead us somewhere because there's a treasure trove of stuff that's just sitting there. The reason Johnny Cage is not in this original film is he's such a giant personality that he almost has his own gravitational field. The feeling was that he would throw it out of balance slightly. I get asked about Kitana just as much as Johnny Cage. There's a lot of interesting characters, story and material to work with, so we haven't really dug into it. We just know we're very privileged that's sitting there. If we do get to that, and I'm not saying that we will, I'm just saying big if, then we'll go down that path. So basically saying, yeah, Johnny Cage and Kitana will be in a sequel. Now he is asked then, what other characters would you want to include in a potential sequel? I guess I'd like to shift it to be a little more female. There are some fantastic female characters in Mortal Kombat. Now wait, I know there'll be a bunch of people here very, very put off by this, but ladies and gents, it was actually very male heavy. I see no problem moving to be, a more female-based sequel or seeing more female characters. I mean, let's face it, the female characters in the Mortal Kombat franchise can look absolutely banging. So even from that perspective, I would be more than happy to see some more female characters. Not a problem from my end. And I think we can bring balance there to a better extent. There were no other specific characters we really wanted to put in. Very early on, there was a scene with Rain, but he wasn't being done justice and wasn't driving the story forward. That's a reason he got put back on the bench. There are a lot of characters to choose from. I've been so busy trying to calibrate this ensemble that I haven't thought too much about any others beyond just understanding who people really love, who gets talked about a lot, and who are really interesting characters. So again, it's that very fan-centric response that I like from this director. He does seem to be very, very fan-centric, and that is not bad at all. Now he's then asked, is it safe to say being dead might not mean someone is actually dead in this universe? And here we go. Here's the age-old, are they actually dead question. Well, yes. If you just look at the game, it's exactly what the game has done in a really interesting way. I think we can perhaps learn from the games and try to do something interesting. Again, there's a big asterisk on all of this. I think the way they handle timelines and alternate iterations of the same character is really interesting. It doesn't always mean that characters come back. Oh, I've been reincarnated, I'm the same. There's some really interesting evolution and growth of these characters. The experience of death informs who they become. So I guess I don't want death to be something that is inconsequential. That is something I certainly thought about as we discussed this story and what that means. So I think there are opportunities there, and certainly Sub-Zero has some opportunities, which is absolutely referencing Noob Saibot. I would bet my life on that. And he's then asked, despite being titled Mortal Kombat, the characters don't actually fight in a Mortal Kombat tournament, possibly saving it for the future. Was that always the plan? The story came out of this idea that we didn't just want to redo the first film. If you look at Mortal Kombat's evolution over the decades, that has evolved and grown beyond the idea of the tournament. That's obviously essential within the DNA of Mortal Kombat, and it's one of the fundamentals. If you look at where the story has gone, the idea of a tournament within a script informs a certain structure and rhythm. We didn't really want to serve that. To serve a tournament idea, you have to build it a certain way. So it was a couple of reasons that came to it playing out in the way that it did. And then he's asked about Cole Young. Oh dear. Cole Young is the only original character in the movie. Was he always envisioned as a descendant of Scorpion? He was always connected to Scorpion. His character evolved because with the other characters there was less sideways movement. We had to be very specific with bringing those characters to life the right way. I like that. That's not a bad response at all. And they came with their own set of properties that we had to respect and amplify. With Cole, we had some license. We gave ourselves a couple of rules. We wanted him to be built out of the material that is within Mortal Kombat. So it made sense to have him as an MMA fighter. It made sense to have a daughter and family aspect. We thought, if you were playing him in the game, what would be a good power to have? Let's treat him as a game character and film character. It was a constant process of building him to have him born out of blood. His power really comes out of the combination of the kunai blade in the nether realm and the energy within. There you go. Not much else to talk about here with the article. The article is over. The response, the interview is done. Look, I don't hate Simon McQuaid's responses here, and I've actually really liked any interview I've seen with Simon McQuaid. Like, genuinely, I think they've all been very considered, very respectful of fandoms, and he just genuinely seems like a reasonably nice chap. The producer was the one that made the comments about Johnny Cage being white, and that being the reason why they didn't want him in the film. So it's really important not to tar the director with the same brush as one of the producers. But there you go. There's, well, that's the interview, that's the response, that's the sequel plans. What do you guys think? Please do let me know down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, though. Give this video a like and a share. Take care.